Picture this. You are standing at a traffic light. To your left is a traditional gas scooter, chugging away, vibrating like an angry lawnmower, coughing out exhaust, and burning a hole straight through its owner's wallet. To your right is a sleek, futuristic electric scooter. It sits there in absolute, majestic silence. The light turns green, and before the gas scooter can even blink its mechanical eyes, the EV rocket launches forward, leaving everyone in a cloud of imaginary, eco-friendly dust. It looks like an absolute no-brainer, right? The marketing brochures certainly want you to think so. They promise you a world of zero maintenance, massive fuel savings, thrilling acceleration, and a gorgeous high-definition touchscreen dashboard that makes your smartphone look ancient. They pitch it as the ultimate, flawless alternative to traditional gas scooters. But here is the catch. Engineering, thermodynamics, and electrochemistry do not care about glossy marketing campaigns. They operate strictly on the laws of physics. And today, we are going to strip away the glossy tech branding and look at the cold, hard, hidden realities of owning an EV scooter. We are going to expose the clever tricks companies use to hide the practical nightmares, like the monsoon water illusion, the underbelly insurance trap, the sudden horror of software bricking, and the brutal reality of the resale value plunge. But don't worry, we won't just throw shade. We will also look at the genuine, brilliant science that makes EVs an engineering marvel when used correctly. Let us start with the first big question every buyer asks. Why does an EV scooter feel so incredibly superior the very first time you twist the throttle? If you look at the immediate driving experience, it is an absolute masterpiece. And that comes down to a beautiful piece of physics called instant torque. When you ride a traditional gas scooter, the engine has to physically suck in air and fuel, compress it, ignite it, and spin up to thousands of revolutions per minute just to reach its peak pulling power. There is a mechanical lag. An electric motor completely bypasses the plumbing. It relies on pure electromagnetism. When an electric vehicle is sitting perfectly still at 0 RPM, a phenomenon called back electromotive force is at exactly 0. This means there is absolutely no internal magnetic resistance fighting the battery's incoming voltage. The millisecond you twist that throttle, the motor controller dumps a massive, unrestricted tidal wave of raw electrical current straight into the motor. Because torque is directly proportional to current, you get 100% of the motor's magnetic twisting force instantly. It is smooth, neck-snapping acceleration. Naturally, EV companies lean heavily into this. They design their test rides to give you an immediate, intoxicating rush of adrenaline. You twist the throttle, your chest tightens, and you think, wow, this is the future. You are hooked, and you gladly hand over a premium price tag of $500 to $2,000. This is exactly where the clever marketing misdirection begins. EV companies have masterfully shifted their identity. They don't want you to think you are buying a vehicle. They want you to believe you are buying a heavy-duty consumer electronic device, a smartphone on wheels. They load the dashboard with massive touchscreens, built-in navigation, mood lighting, and party modes that play music from the chassis. Why do they do this? Because it is a brilliant distraction tactic. While you are marveling at the gorgeous user interface and tracking your ride on a mobile app, you aren't asking the brutal, unglamorous questions about long-term reliability and physical infrastructure. Because these scooters are essentially rolling computers permanently connected to the cloud via cellular networks, you inherit all the bugs of modern software. This brings us to a massive surprise for new owners. Over-the-air OTA software failures. Imagine waking up at 7:30 a.m., ready to commute to an important meeting. You walk out to your driveway, only to find your scooter completely unresponsive. It won't turn on, the screen is dead, and the wheels are locked. What happened? The manufacturer pushed an OTA software update to the scooter at 3:30 a.m. while you were sleeping. If the cellular connection dropped mid-download, or if the update contained a microscopic coding bug, the scooter's firmware corrupts. Your vehicle has been completely bricked overnight, and your only option is to call a flatbed tow truck to haul it to a service center for a manual factory reflash. Worse yet is the sensor paranoia. To make these scooters smart, they are packed with fragile electronic sensors. If a tiny sensor in the side kickstand or the brake lever gets coated in road grime, vibrates loose on a bumpy street, or suffers a glitch, the central computer instantly panics. It assumes the vehicle is in a catastrophic state and cuts all power to the motor as a safety precaution. You are left completely stranded on the side of a highway, not because the motor or battery broke, but because a two plastic sensor stopped talking to the cloud. When a traditional gas scooter has a minor tantrum, you can roll it down to almost any local street mechanic. They have universal tools, the spare parts are cheap, and the mechanical knowledge is widespread. If a part physically fits, the scooter runs. With a modern EV scooter, your local mechanic is completely locked out of the ecosystem. The primary brain of the drivetrain, the motor controller, is digitally and cryptographically married to the unique serial number of the battery management system and the dashboard at the factory using strict component pairing. If you attempt to swap in a perfectly good battery pack or controller from an identical donor vehicle, the central computer recognizes that the digital handshake failed. The scooter rejects the part and remains bricked. To fix even a minor electronic glitch, you are entirely at the mercy of the manufacturer's authorized service centers and their proprietary diagnostic software. This has created a massive backlog crisis. Service stations are overwhelmed, and scooters regularly sit in corporate yards for weeks waiting for basic parts. Now let us talk about a design quirk that can completely destroy your finances in a single second: the placement of the battery pack. To give an EV scooter good handling, engineers place the heavy battery pack at the very bottom of the vehicle, right under your feet beneath the floorboard. This keeps the center of gravity low, but it exposes the single most expensive component to the harsh realities of the road. If you ride over a sharp, poorly designed speed bump or hit a deep pothole hard enough, the impact can dent or crack the protective metal casing of the battery pack. A dented lithium battery is an immediate, catastrophic fire hazard due to internal cell compression. Here is where the insurance trap springs shut. When you take the scooter to the service center, the manufacturer will refuse to repair a sealed battery pack for liability reasons. They will quote you a full battery replacement, which easily runs between $600 and $900. When the insurance surveyor looks at the bill and realizes the repair cost equals nearly half the value of the entire vehicle, they won't authorize the fix. Instead, the insurance company will simply declare the vehicle a total loss and write it off completely. A minor underbody scrape that a traditional gas scooter would shrug off with a scratch can instantly send your EV scooter straight to the scrapyard. Every monsoon season, EV manufacturers love to post marketing videos of their scooters confidently splashing through deep, flooded streets, proudly boasting an IP67 water resistance rating. They make it look like the vehicle is a submarine. But scientifically, this is a dangerous illusion. An IP67 rating is awarded in a pristine, controlled factory environment when the scooter is brand new. Out in the real world, your scooter faces thousands of kilometers of harsh chassis vibrations, intense summer heat expansion, and microscopic impacts from road debris. Over 2 or 3 years, these forces slowly degrade and dry out the rubber gaskets and chemical seals protecting the battery enclosure and motor housing. When you confidently ride through deep monsoon flooding in year 3, that standing water is under pressure. If a degraded seal gives way, moisture seeps into the high-voltage electronics. The system shorts out instantly, completely destroying the entire electric drivetrain. And when you try to claim warranty, the manufacturer's technicians will open the case, find the moisture indicators, and deny your warranty claim on the spot, citing external water ingress. You are left holding a massive repair bill for a vehicle that was advertised as waterproof. Even if you avoid software glitches, potholes, and floods, you still have to face the natural chemical expiration date of the battery. After 5 to 7 years, a standard battery pack naturally loses its ability to hold a charge. But your experience at this cliff depends entirely on the hidden electrochemistry the manufacturer chose to use. On one side, you have NMC chemistry, nickel, manganese, cobalt. This is the darling of high-performance marketing. It offers incredible energy density, allowing brands to pack massive power into a tiny, lightweight space to hit impressive top speeds. The catch? NMC is chemically volatile. Its thermal runaway threshold is low. If it overheats or suffers an internal short, it can release its own internal oxygen supply, leading to a violent fire. Furthermore, NMC typically lasts only 1,000 to 2,000 charge cycles before its health drops below 80%. On the other side, you have LFP chemistry, lithium iron phosphate. The molecular bonds in an LFP battery are incredibly stable and rock solid. Its thermal runaway threshold is massive, making it virtually immune to spontaneous combustion. Even better, an LFP battery can handle 3,000 to 6,000 plus charge cycles. An LFP battery will easily last over a decade, outliving the actual physical frame of the scooter. Why doesn't every brand use LFP? Because LFP is bulky and heavy, It ruins the lightweight agility of a sports scooter and doesn't look as flashy on a spec sheet. Performance-chasing brands often stick to NMC, labeling it vaguely as lithium-ion on the brochure, hoping you never ask about the underlying science. All of these hidden issues lead directly into a massive financial shock that catches owners completely off guard when they try to upgrade, the devastating resale value plunge. Traditional gas scooters hold their mechanical value incredibly well. A second-hand buyer knows that even if a gas engine is 5 years old, a local mechanic can pull it apart, replace a few cheap valves or piston rings, and make it run like new for pennies. The asset remains fundamentally restorable. An EV scooter does not behave like a traditional vehicle on the used market. It behaves exactly like a used smartphone or an old laptop. The moment you roll a premium EV scooter off the lot, its value drops like a stone. Why? Because the second-hand market is absolutely terrified of two things: a degraded, out-of-warranty battery pack that costs half the vehicle's value to replace, and outdated corporate software that the manufacturer might stop supporting. If you pay a hefty premium upfront, hoping to recoup that money when you sell the scooter 3 years later, you're in for a rude awakening. The used market will heavily discount your vehicle, treating it as a ticking financial time bomb. You end up swallowing a massive wave of depreciation that completely wipes out the fuel savings you calculated so carefully on your spreadsheet. The surprises don't stop at the vehicle itself, they extend to your home. Charging an EV scooter requires an enormous, continuous pull of electrical current for hours at a time. If your home's wiring is old or unrated, the wires inside your walls will cook from the thermal stress, creating a major fire hazard. Furthermore, EV chargers are hypersensitive to the power grid. If your area suffers from sudden voltage surges, your expensive charging brick will act as a sacrificial lamb, frying its internal circuit board to protect the scooter. To charge safely, you face a hidden infrastructure tax. Hiring an electrician to install dedicated heavy-gauge wiring, industrial switches, and surge protection devices. And once you are out on the road, you have to deal with the ghost braking quirk. EVs use regenerative braking to slow down using magnetic motor resistance, feeding power back to the battery. But when your battery is charged to exactly 100%, it physically cannot accept any more energy. The computer automatically disables regenerative braking to prevent overcharging. If you pull out of your driveway with a full battery, the scooter will suddenly coast completely freely, forcing you to slam on the mechanical brakes in a panic until the battery drops a few percentage points. But let's talk about what happens when that power finally hits the ground. Because of that glorious instant torque we celebrated earlier, your rear tire is subjected to massive, immediate frictional scrubbing against the asphalt every single time you snap the throttle open from a dead stop. When you combine that aggressive friction with the heavy, dead weight of the battery pack sitting right above the deck, EV scooters shred through their rubber tires 20 to 30% faster than traditional gas scooters. You'll be visiting the tire shop far more often than you think. But the mechanical abuse doesn't stop at the rubber. It goes straight into the motor itself. If you look at most affordable and mid-range EV scooters on the market, they use what is called a BLDC hub motor. That means the brushless direct current motor is bolted directly inside the rear wheel. From a factory production standpoint, it is incredibly cheap and easy to assemble. From an engineering and physics standpoint, it is a disaster waiting to happen. By putting a heavy block of copper coils and permanent magnets inside the wheel, manufacturers create a massive amount of what engineers call unsprung mass. On a traditional scooter, the engine is mounted to the frame, safely suspended above the shock absorbers. When you hit a speed bump, the suspension takes the hit. On a hub motor EV, the motor is the wheel. Every single violent shock, vibration, and pothole impact transfers directly into the motor casing with zero cushioning. Inside that BLDC motor are delicate, highly sensitive electronic components called Hall effect sensors. These sensors tell the motor controller exactly where the magnets are, so it knows when to fire the next electrical pulse. When you subject those fragile sensors and the internal mechanical bearings to the brutal, unsprung kinetic impacts of city potholes day after day, they eventually shatter or misalign. When a Hall sensor dies, the motor stutters violently, locks up, and refuses to move. Then, you have to factor in the thermodynamics. An electric motor generates a tremendous amount of heat under heavy load. A mid-drive motor, which is mounted safely inside the scooter's body and uses a belt to turn the wheel, can easily shed that heat into the open air around the frame. A hub motor is literally suffocated inside a thick, baking hot rubber tire. The stator coils and magnets struggle to cool down, slowly baking their own protective coatings. And remember that monsoon water illusion we talked about earlier? Here is where it gets truly destructive for the motor. If you ride a baking hot hub motor into a cold, flooded street, the sudden drop in temperature causes the air inside the sealed motor casing to rapidly contract. This creates a powerful vacuum effect that literally sucks the floodwater straight past the rubber axle seals. You end up with water trapped inside a highly charged electrical component, rusting the permanent magnets from the inside out and guaranteeing a catastrophic failure. By now, you might be thinking, wow, Sal, this sounds absolutely terrifying. Should I just run away and buy a gas scooter? Not so fast. Let us look at the genuine science of the bright side, because when you strip away the marketing fluff and the infrastructure headaches, an electric vehicle is still an astonishingly brilliant piece of engineering. Consider mechanical simplicity. A traditional internal combustion engine is a chaotic masterpiece of over 2,000 moving parts. Pistons violently exploding, valves slamming, fuel injectors firing, and exhaust systems radiating intense heat. Every single one of those parts represents friction, wear, and a potential mechanical failure. An EV drivetrain completely deletes the chaos. It reduces the moving parts from 2,000 down to about 20. There are no oil pans to leak, no air filters to clog, no spark plugs to replace, and no transmissions to strip. The routine maintenance footprint drops to almost nothing. Then there is the sheer thermodynamic efficiency. A gas engine converts only about 20 to 30% of the fuel's chemical energy into actual forward motion. The rest is lost completely as wasted heat. An electric motor converts over 85 to 90% of its electrical energy directly into movement. Because of this radical efficiency, your running cost per kilometer is a tiny fraction of what you would pay at a petrol pump. If you have a stable home charging setup and a consistent daily commute, the monthly financial savings are massive and highly tangible. They accumulate directly into your bank account, helping to offset the vehicle's eventual depreciation. You also get a vastly superior ride quality. The absolute absence of engine explosions means there are zero mechanical vibrations buzzing through the handlebars or floorboards. The ride is perfectly silent and smooth, which drastically eliminates physical rider fatigue during long, stressful traffic jams. So, what is the ultimate verdict when we look at the whole picture? An EV scooter is not a flawless green savior, nor is it a useless high-tech trap. It is a heavy-duty consumer appliance. If you approach the purchase like a hardware engineer, checking for robust LFP chemistry, securing a dedicated and protected home charging spot, factoring in specialized insurance add-ons for the battery, and verifying that the manufacturer has a physical service center right down the street, it is a phenomenally efficient tool that will save you time, energy, and money. But if you buy it blindly based on a flashy touchscreen, you are gambling with a very expensive piece of electronics. Stick to the science, look past the branding, and protect your wallet. Thanks for watching. This is Sal, signing off. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.